At the start of this season, I thought Thompson was going to break out into an all-star, maybe even sniff All-NBA consideration. He started off the season slow, but still effective, running the second unit and adding to the team's defensive identity. The Rockets are in a bit of a skid at the moment, mostly due to injuries, but the silver lining with those injuries is that it has really put Armen's talents on display. His play is impressive, and he's clearly cementing himself as one of the bigger building blocks on this roster. But just how is a non-shooter tearing up defenses night in and night out? The game where Armen first caught my eye was against the New York Knicks in early February. Fred VanVleet and Alperen Şengün were in street clothes, and Ime Udoka turned to Armen to run the offense. With a bigger offensive load, the defense tried to ignore him off the ball and give him space when the ball was in his hands, but it didn't work. The Knicks were without OG Anunoby, but they still had a great defensive option on him in Mikal Bridges, but it simply didn't matter. He got into a groove early and then just started mismatch hunting. As a poor shooter, he needs to excel at other areas of the court, and he does a great job at attacking a range of defenders off the dribble and with a lightning quick first step. After building up a lot of confidence with some early baskets, especially in the Garden, he started hunting for his shot a lot more, and his insane vertical makes it look so easy. Like seriously, he looks like Crash Bandicoot out there. To stop him from going downhill, Tom Thibodeau asked defenders to go over on ball screens, and it was just a disaster. By going under, defenders can hope to shoot the gap and meet him on the other side, but by going over, they stand no chance, and he's obviously got no jump shot that's actually threatening them, forcing them to go over. In transition here at the end of the half, watch as Precious Achiuwa tries to stay in front of him before falling for a mid-in-and-out dribble. Even without a jump shot, watch how Armen uses the threat of his drive to warp the defense and open a lane for his teammate. He racked up a triple-double while being a menace on defense the whole night. Watch as he stays in front of Brunson this entire play, doesn't fall for his tricky fakes before swatting his shot away. This is Jalen Brunson we're talking about. This isn't just some small guard who's trying to go in and trick a defender. Brunson has made a career out of tricking the best defenders in the league with his ball fakes, but Armen stays down and trusts his instincts. Houston didn't have enough firepower to win the game down the end, but Armen seriously did his best to try and get them to the finish line. A few days later, the Rockets visited Minnesota, and once again, Armen was one of the go-to ball handlers with Fred VanVleet out. Minnie famously plays as many big men as they can fit into the court, and it should be an issue given that Armen scores a lot of his baskets at the paint. But his crazy vertical and athletic gifts just sort of give him a free pass in these instances. You'll often see him driving, jumping, and getting stuck in no man's land, but he just can somehow make something out of nothing. As he gets better and he doesn't get stuck in no man's land, he won't have to rely on athleticism and he can just simply make better decisions. But for the meantime, we've got this young player who is just finding himself in really tricky spots because he's able to jump into tricky spots and just have the wherewithal to know where to pass the ball and just create open shots, or even sometimes just shoot around some of the best defenders in the league. And if his shot does come around, he might not have to operate with defenders dropping in pick and rolls. We saw against the Knicks where they were worried about his drive so much that they were going over some ball screens so he couldn't start running downhill. It's one of the biggest compliments you can give a non-shooter that you have to go over the ball screen. We said that a little bit with Giannis Antetokounmpo, where some teams, especially earlier on in his career, were going over the ball screen, not because they were worried about him pulling up, but you just want to stay attached to his hips so he doesn't get any momentum going downstairs and he always feels you. When he's operating in the pick and roll or even just driving to the paint, it's one of the downsides of being a non-shooter is that he doesn't really have anywhere to go. But because of his crazy vertical, you're seeing him still be a threat. So where you might see a shooter continue to run after passing the ball in a pick and roll, relocating for a three, like we see a lot of that from Steph Curry or Darius Garland, he manages to stay around the paint, and whether he's there for the offensive rebound or even in this beautiful play with a little bit of tic-tac-toe, or even just tic-tac with Jock Landale. Watching that again is crazy to see how he's just quicker to the spot when jumping. It's like he's abusing Ike's up special in Super Smash Bros. And again, I feel like I'm a broken record, but he's shouldering a heavier offensive load while still engulfing ball handlers on the other end. It's incredible to watch, and also poor Rob Dillingham in this play. So what's next for Armen Thompson? He's taken this heavier offensive load with injuries to the rest of the roster, but he's still sort of a man without a country, both on the basketball court but also in the Houston Rockets' future plans. The Rockets are currently straddling two timelines. They've got one with veterans like Fred VanVleet and Dillon Brooks, and then one with whatever they can put around that young core. Now, whatever they can put around the young core might be Brooks and Fred VanVleet aging into the sunsets of the career, but still being efficient players while the young guys come up and take a heavier load. But at the moment, it looks like there's just too many cooks in Houston for Armin to truly be that go-to ball handler. That's why we've seen him be sort of the point guard on the second unit. After the All-Star break, Houston should be whole and back to their winning ways, but this run by Armin shouldn't be ignored. Great things happen when the ball is in Thompson's hands, and I'm excited to see what he can do when everyone's healthy, hopefully with a higher offensive load. In the immediate future, I don't see the Rockets or Ime Udoka handing over enough of the reins to Armin for him to truly become an All-NBA player. And on top of that, there may be some high-level fit concerns with Alperen Sengun. Both Sengun and Thompson are two players who operate best in the exact same places. But I trust Raphael Stone to surround them with complementary pieces. It could definitely work, and we've seen it before in the past. But I'm getting sucked into an issue that's a little bit too far in the future. At the moment, we're seeing one of the league's most exciting young talents show the world what he can do. He's had his Madison Square Garden debut. He's not an all-star this season, but next season, with the roster just getting 1 year old and maybe a bigger load for Amen Thompson, I wouldn't be surprised one bit if he makes his first all-star game. So let's just sit back and watch him grow.